Hey, it's Abby from Homeschool with Moxie. So, do you use Apologia science courses in your homeschool? Do you love the idea of their student notebooks, but you're kind of looking for a cheaper option? Personally, we love their student notebooks, but they get expensive. Or maybe you want to use an older edition of Apologia, but you can't find the notebook to use with it. Well, I have personally answered all these questions with a resounding yes over the years, and I never could find an answer. So I'm excited to share with you my answer today to the Apologia notebook options, and that is Knowledge Box Central. Let me tell you about it. So, before we get into the details about Knowledge Box Central, first let's talk about the Apologia student notebooks and why they're so helpful. Here's an example of their junior notebooking journal, which was used along with botany. You can see they have a regular option and then a junior option. The regular option is behind there, but they are age appropriate ways to take notes and keep track of what you're learning from the Apologia textbook. So, in the younger ages, you can see there's a lot of cut and paste kind of things. They also have places to keep your lab report information. They help you with definitions. It's a place to write down all those definitions you're learning, a place to answer questions. It just kind of consolidates everything your child is learning from the Apologia textbooks in one place. It goes right along with the textbook. And of course, parents love this option, which is the scheduling portion at the beginning of the student notebook. So it's easy to know what to do every day and check it off as you go. And of course, who wants to have to copy diagrams or, reproduce pictures in your notes? If it's all right there for you, it makes using the Apologia textbooks so much easier. Now, here's the second edition of Exploring Creation with Biology from Apologia that I purchased, like, I don't know, a decade ago or something, and have been using it with all my kids. I thought, yeah, I'm going to buy it once, I'm going to use it, and I did figure, okay, I might have to repurchase that student notebook. Well, unfortunately, my last child used up our last second edition student notebook, and I could not find another student notebook anywhere. And I mean, they're really large. You can see how big they are, but they're comprehensive. They have everything in there, the study guides, the questions, the lab reports, everything. I love them. Well, the problem was Apologia switched to a new edition. Here's their third edition. And while I'm sure it's awesome, I kind of didn't want to spend the money on the new edition. I've already used the second edition for three of my kids. I only have two kids left, and I really just wanted to keep using it because we were already familiar with it. I had the test, the answer key, the textbook, and everything. So after I purchased this newer set, used, I actually resold it. And I thought, you know what? I am going to find a solution for the student notebook. I could not find a second edition student notebook that was cheaper than like $80 because they're out of print. So I did some searching and I thought, how come I don't hear people talking about this? This is the solution. The solution is Knowledge Box Central. They sell Lapbook journals that go along with most of the Apologia science courses, which means you can use any version or edition you want. So if you find older editions on eBay, you can totally use them. You can keep using the edition you have for all your kids. You buy it once, it's a digital download. And yes, you do have to print it, but you buy it once for $15. You print it out for all your kids in your homeschool who will use it. So I was excited to learn about Knowledge Box Central. And the crazy thing was, I was not seeing anyone talk about this. So that's why I decided to do this video. And underneath this video, I will put a link to a post I did about it and links to find these awesome Lapbook journals so that you can use them too. But first of all, let me show you what you'll find on the Knowledge Box Central website. Central when you search for Apologia. So they've got a bunch of great options. If you're just starting out with Apologia and you're going to teach multiple kids through multiple years of Apologia science, this is a great value for you. So here you can see they have the Lapbook bundle for all the Apologia elementary sciences. So that's a great deal. You can only buy
maybe three student notebooks, maybe two student notebooks for that price. So here, if you've got a bunch of kids going to go through all of them, I mean, you do have to print it yourself, but I mean, that I feel like that's a great value. Here's like their flashcard bundle for all the elementary science books. Here's their middle and high school Lapbook Journal bundle. And so, I mean, you can see the value there once again. And so if you scroll through, you can see all that they have available. Now, when you see $5, that's usually just vocabulary cards. The Lapbook journals end up being about $15, and then you have to print them. But again, I feel like it's really worth it. So here's what we ended up getting. So we had the second edition biology, could not find the student notebook anywhere. I did end up buying the new biology. I wonder if they have it on here. Maybe they have it on another page. Here it is. I did end up buying the third edition used from someone with the student notebook. But once I got it, I realized, I really don't want to have to find another student notebook for my fifth child in a few years. So I really want to keep using what we have and find an option that works for me. And that's when I discovered that I could purchase this Lapbook Journal and be able to use it. So here's what you'll find when you click on over. So they show you what book it goes with, so you can be sure you're on the right one. And I went ahead and I got the ebook version of the Lapbook Journal, and it was $15. And what it includes is the on your own journal pages, because if you are familiar with Apologia, you know that they have on your own questions throughout the module. And so instead of having your child having to write all those questions out and answer them on their own paper, the questions are already there. I'll give you a more detailed peek in a second, but here's the overview. You also have study guide Lapbook pages or study guide journal pages, so you use one or the other. And then you have lab reports and module summaries. So basically everything that was in your student notebook, you'll get that. Now you could also choose interactive Lapbook Journal, which I believe it means you can just type it out yourself. So that's another option. Or there's vocabulary flashcards that go with the second edition of biology. So if you want all the vocabulary words and the definitions on flashcards that you can print out, I mean, that's a great option too. But we didn't go with that. We just went with the Lapbook Journal. And so for $15, you can print this out for all your kids through all the years, reuse the books you already have. That's what I love about this. Included in the download of the Lapbook Journal from Knowledge Box Central. This is the actual sample. It's 68 pages that you can download from their site. So it'll give you an idea before you purchase if this will work for you or not. So I thought I would kind of take you through it and show you what's involved. Let me scroll through to some of the main parts. So when you first start, there will be some cover pages, and then let me get to the meat of this. So they tell you, look, there are 7 sections. You're not going to need to do every single one of them. You can pick and choose, which is the good part about this option, right? Sometimes when you use a student notebook, your kids might not do every little thing, and then you feel like, wow, I paid all this money, and you only filled out half the student notebook. Well, using this version of the Lapbook Journal, you can print out only the pages you're going to use. So you'll find the on your own questions already printed out on journal pages, once again, so your child doesn't need to write them out on their own paper. These questions are in the textbook, right? So they are there in the textbook, but when you want them to answer it, if they need to keep writing all the questions out, that can get a little laborious. And so a lot of us do like having the on your own questions. Now for the study guide questions, you have 2 options. You can either print out actual lap book pages, which if you know about lap books, this is like cutting, pasting, making these little mini books or flashcards or cards. I mean, in my opinion, it's a bit too below a high schooler. Like a high schooler has to be doubling down and really learning biology. I feel like lap booking is a little bit more for the K through 8 crowd. Obviously, not everyone believes that because she included that here with the high school course, but that's just my opinion. We just don't use the lap book pages. We instead use the journal pages, which is just having the study guide written out and you fill in the blank. So I'll show you that in a minute too. So you see how she says you choose either 2 and 3 or 4. You don't do them all. And then for lab reports, you can have ones that are partially completed or blank ones. So once again, decide what makes sense for you. And then it's really helpful having the module summaries printed out. That's a great review for before the test. So let me show you what the insides of some of these look like. So here are the on your own journal pages. And if you are familiar with Apologia, you know that they have these on your own questions written in the textbook. But here you have an opportunity to, print this page out. The question's already there and your student just answers it right here. You punch holes, put it in a 3-ring notebook, and there's their do-it-yourself student notebook, right? So these are the on your own questions. Let me get to another section. Here's the options for Lapbook pages. So let me show you what that looks like. So if you wanted to actually put together a Lapbook, you know that you would cut these out, and this would be your cover. And inside the mini booklet, your student would write the definitions. Right? Here's all the definition pages. There's a lot of them. Here's another example of what I mean, like here's question 2, and so they'd be filling that out. Here's like a mini book. They would answer it over here. This side would be the cover. You'd fold it in half and you'd, attach it to your file folder or your page, right? So if you're familiar with Lapbooks, all these shapes make sense. You're ending up putting them together in these mini books onto your Lapbook. So this would just be too much cutting and pasting for my high schooler. It'd be too much energy spent on putting together a Lapbook instead of learning the information. So for us, it doesn't make sense. Maybe your child does learn well with this, and then go for it. But that's just an example of what the Lapbook would look like. Here's a huge one, right? And then you'd be putting the answers here, and it would be a tri-fold thing, and then you'd cut these lines and you'd pull open to see the answers. So you could do that if you want. Let me get to the next section here. So the next section would be study guide journal pages. This is what we do. So once again, instead of using a Lapbook, we're just writing them down. But everything's written for the students, so you don't need to use your own paper and do all that effort. So for example, here we go. This is the study guide, reviewing, making sure they know stuff for the test. The questions are written. It's a lot easier to just write your answers rather than rewrite these big, long questions, right? Some of the questions can be rather long. So that's an example. That's what we use, the study guide journal pages. That's really helpful. Instead of having to purchase the student notebook or write these all out yourselves, that's what we do. And then here are the lab reports. You can use already partially completed. So here's an example of that. Now, if you've used Apologia, all of this information is in the textbook. So they do have it there, but maybe your students want to have it just on a piece of paper and not have their textbook open. Well, here you have the option of having this partially completed. And then the next page is their place to write their lab report, observations, diagram, and summary, right? So that's an example, partially completed, everything's there. You don't have to look at the book, it's all there, instructions are there. Or you can use, this is what we do, the blank reports, because everything is in the book. Now, your child will be writing out supplies, introduction, and procedure. Now, maybe you don't want them to do that. It takes too much time. It's redundant, whatever. Sometimes we just do the observations and the diagram and the summary. So you can mix and match and decide what's best for your student. And then finally, here are the module summaries, which are very helpful. Helps you review everything before you take the test. And I love having it all written out. I can't imagine having to reproduce this myself or, go about it the hard way. So if you don't want to purchase the student notebook, you have this option, and everything that would be in the student notebook is here in the Lapbook Journal, and you can just print out what you need.
So, what do you think? Does this solve the issue you have with Apologia student notebooks? It gives you a done for you option, but way cheaper, and you can use any edition you want. I'm kind of interested about what you think. Go ahead and comment below. Check out the full post with links on my site at Homeschool with Moxie. You'll find that at 41more.com. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and learn all about the latest things we're doing over in our homeschool. And I think this is just a great solution. I think I'll be using them to finish up my last 2 kids in our homeschool with all the Apologia science courses. So let me know what you think. Thanks for listening and happy homeschooling.